Kevin McCarthy on the chopping block. That is the subject of today's preamble. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy finally announced an impeachment inquiry against President Biden today. It's the first step of the impeachment process.
Through our investigations, we have found that President Biden did lie to the American people about his own knowledge of his family's foreign business dealings. Eyewitnesses have testified that the president joined on multiple phone calls and had multiple interactions. Dinners resulted in cars and millions of dollars into his son's and his son's business partners.
All right, so the inquiry will be led by Congressman James Comer, Jim Jordan, and Jason Smith.
These are allegations of abuse of power, obstruction, and corruption, and they warrant further investigation by the House of Representatives. That's why today I am directing our House committee to open a formal impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. This logical next step will give our committees the full power to gather all the facts and answers for the American public.
All right, so here's where all of this is going. The move comes as members of the House Freedom Caucus are now threatening to call a vote to vacate the chair. Conservatives are, quite frankly, tired of McCarthy's say one thing in private, say another thing in public routine. So the question is whether conservatives will have the votes to authorize that inquiry when it happens. Now, Congressman Ken Buck, Don Bacon are moderates, and they have not been too keen on punishing Biden. So far, not a single member of the Biden administration has been held accountable for any wrongdoing. Attorney General Merrick Garland weaponized the Justice Department, taking down President Biden's political enemies. President Trump has been literally persecuted. The man has been persecuted at the hands of these Marxist goons. By the way, not just the president. What about the parents of the going to the school board to complain? What about the pro-lifers whose homes have been bashed in the middle of the night by the FBI? Why hasn't Garland been impeached? And what about Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas? Now, this man has allowed millions of illegal aliens to invade our nation. Dangerous criminals, murderers, rapists, drug cartels, waging war in our cities and towns. So why hasn't Mayorkas been impeached, Republicans? And until this morning, McCarthy has been on the record saying that Joe Biden has done nothing worthy of impeachment. So I can understand why conservatives like Congressman Matt Gaetz are ready for a new speaker, even with today's announcement.
I rise today to serve notice. Mr. Speaker, you are out of compliance with the agreement that allowed you to assume this role. You boasted in January that we would use the power of the subpoena and the power of the purse. But here we are, 8 months later, and we haven't even sent the first subpoena to Hunter Biden. That's how you know that the rushed and somewhat rattled performance you just saw from the Speaker isn't real. At this point, during Democrat control over the House of Representatives, they had already brought in Don Jr. 3 times.
It's true. It's true. So here's a word of advice to Speaker McCarthy. Spend some time this afternoon taking selfies on that Speaker's balcony. It's really one of the best views on Capitol Hill. Enjoy it while you can, Mr. Speaker. Because if you go back on your word again, if you betray the conservative people again, if you don't impeach President Biden, your next office is going to be in the basement of the Cannon Building next to the janitor's closet. The American people are tired of being trod upon.